The Democrats' double-tap narrative seems to be falling apart. Navy Admiral Frank Mitchell Bradley, who gave the order for a second strike on that drug smuggling boat in international waters, saying no, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth did not give him a, quote, kill them all order, as reported by the Washington Post.
Yeah, for more on this story, let's bring in political analyst and host of Ringside Politics, Jeff Crouere, along with chairwoman of the Capitol Hill Fight Club PAC and Miami GOP Committeewoman, Angie Wong. We're also joined all morning in studio by our special guest, Newsmax contributor Deneen Borelli and Newsmax contributor Dr. Tom Borelli. Welcome to everybody.
Morning.
Good morning.
So, Jeff, let's get your reaction to Admiral Bradley confirming that no kill-them-all order was given. What do you think?
Well, I think this is just another media attempt to go after the Trump administration. It's just, once again, a media lie. They're just making much to do about something that I think the American people support, and that is to prevent poison from coming into the country. I mean, this is what our military should be doing, protecting the American people from a threat. This is a real threat that kills Americans. This is much more important than what we're doing halfway around the world. This is saving American lives. So the whole narrative that somehow this is a war crime is ridiculous. I commend the administration for the 22 boats that they have put out of commission. I commend the administration for sending these terrorists down to the bottom of the sea.
Sure.
I commend the administration for saving thousands of lives because drugs aren't flowing into our country. This is what the military should be doing. So all this criticism is ridiculous. And I think it just shows how out of touch.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So well said, Jeff. Okay, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth speaking in Costa Mesa, California Friday. Let's take a listen and comment.
It's been a bit of an interesting week, and we've made sure to remind Admiral Bradley and others involved in Operation Southern Spear, we have your back. You're taking out narco-terrorists in our hemisphere. On behalf of the American people, we're sinking drug boats and deterring the poisoning of the American people. We will always have our military leadership's back.
So, Angie, in one sense, he's supporting the Admiral, but he's also making it crystal clear that a second strike was not his call. How does that dynamic play out in this whole thing?
Well, ultimately, the buck stops at his desk, right? So I wish Pete Hegseth would have come out and to say all this early on instead of letting this blow up to be a big military story that the left has completely taken over. Earlier on last week, Pete Hegseth said that, look, all of these operations go through military and civilian lawyers before the operation even happens. So I'm sure all of this is clear, but the messaging was so wrong on this. The messaging should have been what Jeff has said, which is, look, we want to make sure these boats never even come near the U.S. Shorelines. We don't want them coming into the ports of Miami and riding up the I-95 to spread drugs and other crimes all around the country. We want to stop it before it even comes near our shores. So I think, now he's getting ahead of the story because it's become such a big thing. But ultimately, I've never heard of a military operation where you're only allowed one missile strike. Why wouldn't you allow multiple missile strikes to get the entire operation done? So
that's a good point.
Whole thing is
Absolutely.
just a bad messaging exercise.
I love it. And the left keeps arguing that these the people in these boats, well, they could be fishermen. I thought, well, maybe one of them is the Maryland man. How about that? The Maryland father. Dr. Tom, your take.
No, I don't see anything actually morally wrong with the second strike at all. First of all, war was hell. Second of all, these individuals knew where they were going. It wasn't like it was the first strike. If these people had survived, what would they have done? They'd probably go back and then deliver more drugs. Look, context is important. On the 84th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, we lost thousands of people who were innocent, just sitting in their boats, and they were bombed, and a number of boats went down, thousands died. Here we have people who, on purpose and intent, want to poison Americans. Clear difference.
Yeah,
and they're getting paid $10,000 per run, right, on these boats.
Incredible.
So, of course, they're going to keep doing it until they get...
well, I bet it's slowing down now because the president sent a strong message. But I want to shift gears here now. We know that the Trump administration did institute the travel ban on 19 high-risk countries after an Afghan national killed one Guard member and wounded another last week in D.C. Well, of course, that ban is now extended to more than 30 countries. As Kristi Noem says, the president is still actively evaluating countries. Jeff, I'm old enough to remember when travel bans by the first administration were called racist by the radical left. Is this a proportional response in your opinion?
I think it is. I think what happened after the debacle in Afghanistan was that the Biden administration let people come into the country that weren't vetted. And look at the results. We had the attack against the National Guard. We had two other incidents that were foiled before they could have been terror attacks. And we allowed millions of people to cross into the country. We don't know where they were from. So we got to clamp down because there's a major threat to our country all over from sleeper cells that the Biden administration let in. We can't let more threats come in here. So, yeah, I 100% approve of the ban. These are bad countries with a lot of problems. 30 of them, I think maybe they should be expanded to even more countries as we try to figure out the threat that is already here that the Biden administration allowed to grow during their 4 years of incompetence. Thank God we have adults in charge now.
That's right. Now, Deneen, how about this? We know a federal grand jury did decline to re-indict New York Attorney General Leticia James. Then this decision comes just 10 days after that federal judge tossed out the initial indictment against her. What's your thoughts on this? I'm sure you have an opinion, Deneen.
He does.
Blood pressure goes up every time I got to talk about this woman. I still want to know where is her primary place of residence. Look, this was a jury of her peers, whereas it's liberal parts of Virginia or whatever. And the propaganda that we've always been hearing is that the president was retaliating against her. So this was the drumbeat that they kept hearing. And now here she is, basically off the hook, it looks like.
Yeah, incredible.
Well,
But this
let's
does
hope the
condemn
New
the
York
mortgage
voters
documents.
take action against her. She is definitely not abiding by the law.
No doubt. Angie, any thoughts on this? Leticia James, the case being thrown out here?
Yeah, I'm with Deneen. Like, where does she live? Is she even a New York resident? I mean, look, she's all over the place with this. I'm so sad that she slipped through the cracks on this one, and she is the AG. So she knows how to play this game. I do hope that the next election, someone replaces her.
Well, she's running for re-election, and you must be a resident for 5 consecutive years to be eligible for that office. So it's got to come up
Evidently
again.
not.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Jeff, we know President Trump announced that he has completely terminated every action signed by former President Joe Biden using the auto pen, declaring those measures null and void. What does the canceling of these orders look like? Do we see any major changes in policy? Jeff, that goes to you.
I certainly hope so, because a lot of bad people were pardoned, people that should have been investigated. I'm hoping we now can reopen the investigation into Dr. Phony Fauci, a lot of these other people that did tremendous harm to the American people. I mean, if the man wasn't cognizant about what he was signing, none of that should be allowed. All of that should be thrown out. And from what I understand, 90% of what he signed was by auto pen. So who knows who authorized that? Who knows what Biden knew and didn't know? I think this is one of the biggest scandals in American history, and the Department of Justice should be looking at this and to see who was behind all of this. We all know Joe Biden wasn't competent. We all know that he didn't direct this. So this has got to be looked at from a lot of different angles. And look at that, and he couldn't even stand up straight. I mean, the man
stand up at
was
all.
seriously in decline.
That's right. And Kamala Harris should be answerable for this, too. She's the number 2, and under the Constitution, she took an oath to step in and identify when the president is incapacitated. It was her duty to say something.
That's such a good point. Dr. Tom, I mean, what are your thoughts here? We know that the executive orders obviously can be done away with. What about the pardons that were done with the auto pen? What do you see happening in that? About 30 seconds to you, sir.
Yeah, that's a really great question, TW. What about the pardons? I believe Hunter Biden was actually signed by the president. I wonder how that was done versus everybody else. You have to wonder, were they auctioning off some of these? You know, I want to know who was operating the machine, who was actually doing the work, and on what email. There's got to be some sort of record. You know, follow the information of who was doing what and why. The why is most important to me.
Yeah.
Check Biden's garage.
So, yeah, really good point. So glad we're done with President Auto Pen. But Jeff Crouere, Angie Wong, thanks for joining us this morning. Deneen and Tom, stick around. We'll see you shortly.